Okay, great. So good morning, everybody. Buenos dias and bom dia. Very nice to be able to be here with everybody. My name is Carlos Iniguez, based out of Miami, Director for Startups for the Global Entrepreneurship Network. Joining me today, we do have Jeff Hoffman, our Chairman of the Board here at the Global Entrepreneurship Network. And I also would like to introduce Luis Gonzalez, the VP of Philanthropy and Community Impact at Wells Fargo, valued partner and sponsor for Jen. So thank you very much.
Great. Well, good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here, and I have the privilege of introducing today's workshop and today's discussion. Obviously, Jeff is going to be leading that discussion, but I really wanted to welcome everyone and, just provide a little bit of an overview as to how we're engaged and the privilege we have to support Jen and support this type of work. We're committed to continuing our support for small businesses, entrepreneurs, not only in the U.S., right, but we do a lot across the country because we know we are a global economy. And today's discussion is relevant. We have a lot happening across the world. We have a lot happening in Latin America. We have a lot to explore. And as we were having conversations with everyone here, it's a very interesting time where we're seeing that the development, the fast pace, the investments, things that are happening at a very fast pace that a few years ago we would not be having these types of conversations. It would be a different world. But now we're seeing the global economy really take place, start shaping itself, and we're looking at ways that we can continue to partner, to build, to innovate, and really get the support we need. And so today's discussion, we're happy to be supportive, to have those conversations, and a lot to learn from an individual, a gentleman who's done a lot of work in the entrepreneurial space. I think a lot of folks, as I saw in the room, already know Jeff. They've come up to him and said, hey, Jeff. We learned a lot from him. He's got a lot to say, so I know you want to hear him speak. But as you know, Jeff is the chairman of the board for Jen. He is an entrepreneur, a leader, has done a lot of great stuff in the community for entrepreneurs as well, and his insight is just amazing. And so I thank you for being here. Thank you for the opportunity to Jen, and I will turn it over to Jeff to provide, this discussion and follow up as well.
Thank you very much. And again, not only are you guys a great sponsor, but he's just a great-looking guy. Come on, look at the guy. We really appreciate everything you guys do and your partnership. So thank you. So, and we know you have to go to another meeting at some point. Is that correct? That's right. Yeah. Okay. We really want this today to be an interactive session. What we wanted to do with this time was find out what's on your minds, what problems you're facing, what things you'd like to hear input or advice on. So let's make this as interactive as we can. That's our plan, right?
That's the plan. Just as a quick show of hands for everybody here, because I know this is going to be the fun little wrinkle to the activity. How many of our founders are U.S.-based? Raise your hand if you're from the U.S. How many of you are local Puerto Rico? I know also U.S.-based. Okay, so we have Puerto Rican founders here as well. Welcome. Latin America or the Caribbean? So this was like really the whole idea of our session. As the title indicates, Unidos Somos Poderosos, right? United, we are strong, we are stronger. So our ability to be able to take the experiences from Latin America, stateside, from Puerto Rico to Latin America, from Puerto Rico to the United States, vice versa, the whole thing. So that is really the spirit and energy of what we're trying to bring here together. Quick show of hands, who's fundraising right now?
Okay. No, literally right now.
Yeah, now. Okay. Keep the hands up. Okay, so who's comfortable in that process right now? Okay, so a lot of the hands went down. So I'm going to pick on one person here so we could just start. Dr. Courtney, I saw that hand drop. Having a couple challenges. What are you currently feeling right now throughout that process? How can we help?
I feel like there's been a little bit of waning in the market. Slowdown will take a long time, and I'm not getting as many firm commitments as I would like for the amount of time that I've spent talking to small VCs, angels. Important. But it just feels like it's taking a long time and not a lot of direct commitments.
So who else wants to report problems that you're having in fundraising or thoughts about it? Vitali?
Yeah, first of all, the problem is that a lot of Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, a lot of VCs are saying like, okay, we will invest if you have a lead. They don't want to sign term sheets, but like, okay, like verbal agreement, we will invest if you have a lead. And this is like, okay, like how can we deal with that? Like how can we proceed with that? And secondly, we have had a kind of 2 months due diligence with the company. Like we provide all information. Will not tell the name, but at the end, like they say, okay, no. Is this like, I just don't know why it took so long, just they wanted to grab all of the information and just grab our IP, or like they didn't provide any feedback. There's like a 2 points. Thank you.
If a few other people want to contribute, and then I'm going to share some thoughts on this process with you.
Yeah, so with us, I mean, thankfully, it's not a big problem. We are actually at the tail end of our fundraise, and we're at the tail end of our fundraise. But I totally kind of echo what Courtney just said, that time, it's taking much longer than usual, right, for funds to close. But, I mean, you guys are experts, but I just want to kind of share one bit piece of advice is Founder Suite is a great tool which kind of helps you find very targeted investors and kind of, follow up with them. So I just thought about it and I just wanted to get up and say that. So
Okay, we had one more person that wanted to comment too, and then we'll give you some.
Yeah, I just want to add that I'm currently raising a seed round, and I don't know if because I've talked to regional investors, but U.S. investors as well, and sometimes they are just keep asking information and more additionally from the data room that we already have provided, and they just don't say no and then don't say yes, and it's like an ongoing cycle, and it's really hard to raise money. It's a 24/7 job, and sometimes they don't realize that we are there just giving and providing information. It's more, I don't know. It's a lack of ethics, I think, sometimes, that the investor wouldn't just make a decision. I don't know if we can do something about it and just accelerate that process and push them to say yes or no. Sometimes I really just prefer the no, so I can focus on other things.
Okay, so no, you'll never be able to change that. I spent the first half of my life doing what you were doing, right? Building companies and raising money. And then later I switched to the other side of the table. And this is the reality that you guys are talking about. One day I'm sitting there with these investors. A guy gives his entire pitch, and they're like, great, good job, we'll get back to you. And then we take a break to go to the restroom. And we're walking to the bathroom, and the one guy says, that was horrible. The other guy said, that guy doesn't know what he's doing. I said, you told him, great, we'll get back to you. And they said, yeah, whatever, we don't really have the time to give feedback, and we don't care about that guy anyway, so why would we waste our time with him? And I was like, right, but what you said was, great job, we'll get back to you. And they're like, whatever, Jeff. They don't, if they are not interested, they don't care. They don't care that they're holding you up or slowing you down. It's just reality. But I'm going to give you guys, I'm going to take a minute, is that okay? I'm going to give you guys some advice on fundraising. First, I'm going to tell you the big problem. The problem is, and this amazes me with entrepreneurs all over the world, the problem is that an investor and I'm going to say you guys, and I don't mean you literally, I just mean to founders, because I see this all over. An investor to you guys is anybody who literally says, what do you do? I'm an investor. Oh, great, can I pitch you? That's it. But let me tell you something. If I asked you that for a customer, I remember many years ago, this guy came to me, and he was making jeans for 12-year-old girls. They were called mud jeans, if I remember. And the way he was talking about customers, there was some guys in the room, they were 30-something-year-old men. And I said, show them your jeans. And he said, why would I show a 30-year-old male my jeans? They're for 12-year-old girls. And I said, I don't know, that's the way you seem to segment investors. As long as they say they're an investor, you wouldn't do that with a customer. You wouldn't say a customer is a customer. So why are you doing that with investors? So I'm going to give you a technique for that. Because so many people are out pitching, and those people were never going to invest. They just want to collect your data because they want to see what's in the market. They're trying to get intelligent about the market, and they're not that interested many times. Clearly, there are times where they close. But there's a lot of times that you guys are expressing. So here is one of the times when I know how to raise money. This is literally a step-by-step process that I want you to do. Step one, I want you to go home and make a list of 6 companies that are the closest thing you can find to your company. Okay? Everybody always says there's nobody like us. Find the closest thing you can find. By the way, like in the movie business, That's how we sell movie investors. We say, well, it's like Top Gun crossed with this movie, right? Everybody looks for a comparable. So you need to find 6 comparable companies. So at the time, it's when I was doing the check-in kiosk for the airports. If you guys don't know, that was my first product ever. When you go to the airport and check in at a kiosk, that was my first invention. And I needed some funding. And so the first thing I did was Google everything close to what you're doing. I Googled travel technology, kiosks, check-in machines, airport technology, everything I could find. And I made a list of 6 travel technology companies. The closest thing, that's not necessarily the number, I'm just telling you what I did. Make a list of companies the most like yours you can find. Step 1. Now I went on all the websites of all those companies, and I looked to see who's been funded. By the way, no company gets funding and doesn't announce it, because it legitimizes you. So in the news section of any website, if they've been funded, they'll tell you about it. So I made a list of all the ones that were funding, and I wrote down who funded them. Now I had a different list. I had a list of funds, investors, that invested in companies like mine, in travel tech. So then I went into each of these funds, and I started researching each of them to see how much they've done in my sector. And it turned out that one of the companies had done 6 travel tech investments. So now I've narrowed it down to that company. So then first I researched all the companies like mine, made a list as who was invested. Then I researched all those investors, and I made a list. I wrote down the one that had done the most in my space in travel tech. And then I took that list, I went to that company, and I studied all of their investments in the space. And it turns out they've invested in travel tech 6 times in my space, as close as I could get to it. And so I researched all 6 of their investments. 3 of them did not do well, so I studied and wrote down why. 3 of them did well, so I studied them and wrote down why they did well. Then I went back to that company's website, and I said, within the firm, which investor, his name keeps popping up with these investments. Turns out there was a guy named Jim who manages travel and hospitality sector for that firm. So guys, what am I looking for? I'm looking for all my friends were going out and giving 20 pitches because they were saying, can you connect me to investor? Can you introduce me to investor? And their definition was anyone that says, yes, we're a fund, they're going to pitch. That's what I don't want you to keep doing. What I was doing is saying, why would I give 20 pitches to just anyone that's investor? What I want to do is give 1 pitch to the person most likely to say yes. Your job is, instead of talking people into investing, go find the person that is already looking for you. So now I have this firm that did 6 investments. I've studied the investments. And then I wrote down the name of the guy, Jim. He's the guy that does travel and technology for their firm. So now I've narrowed it down to a fund that loves travel tech. They've invested in it 6 times. I know why they failed. I know why they succeeded. And I've read all about the guy, right? I read his LinkedIn profile and everything about Jim. Now, I'll be honest with you guys. Here's where it went bad. I tried for 3 months. I was calling and emailing. Can I show something to Jim? And she's like, if he wants to talk to you. You're right. She kept saying, you've left messages. You need to stop calling us. If Jim wants to talk to you, he will call you back. And I tried again, and she said, stop emailing us, stop calling us. We already got your message. So I was trying persistence, but I'm just gonna tell you guys the real story of what happened next. I was like, I got to find a way. Jim is the guy that's gonna say yes to me, right? All my friends were out giving 20 pitches and getting no everywhere and saying they never even called me back. They were never gonna, right? But Jim is gonna do this, I'm sure, because he loves travel tech, and I know what he's been successful in, and my company looks like the good ones. So I went to his Facebook page, and all over it were horses and polo. All right, I don't really even know what polo is. It's horse hockey. But Jim said, I'm so excited for Saturday because there's a big polo match Saturday. So Jim's passion is polo. So I bought the ticket to the polo match. And I went out there. Here's my big plan. I can't get an appointment in his office. I'll just go to the polo match and try to meet him. So I went out to the polo match. The bad news was I could see Jim, but along the edge of the field were VIP tents, and there was ropes and security. And I started to walk over there, And they're like, yeah, no, you can't go in there. That's VIP only. And Jim's there. Excuse me, it's a red wristband. I can see him. And I have the yellow, the cheapest one. And he's like, you can't go in there. So I'm standing there, man, I was so close. I can even see that my target, and I can't get there, failed. But while I was standing there trying to think about what to do next, I saw some people come out of the tent and go into the buffet area, which was in the middle. So VIP, then buffet, and then like general admission, the cheap seats. And I noticed the people eating in there had an orange band. But I saw that the people with the red wristband, the VIP, also eat at the buffet. So I went back to the security guard and I said, can I just buy a meal wristband? He said, you can't. You still can't go in the VIP tent, but if you buy an orange, you can go to the meal. So I bought the meal ticket, and I went in there, and to be honest with you guys, I stood by the meal thing for over an hour. After about an hour and a half of just standing by the buffet table, Jim came out. And the guy came walking over, and then I picked up a plate right next to him. And I said, great day for the ponies, isn't it? And he said, oh yeah, man, my absolute favorite sport. I love the horses. And he said, you go to polo a lot? And I said, never been to polo. And he said, this is your first match? I said, yes. And he said, wow. And I said, I just wish I knew someone that could teach me about polo. And he said, I'll tell you all about it. And he said, come with me. I said, ooh, I can't because you're VIP and I just have this yellow band. He said, it's my tent. I own it. I'll get you a red wristband. So we went into the red tent. I'm standing with Jim. He's explaining the horses to me. I'm honestly not really listening at all. He's explaining polo to me. And then finally, he goes, can I ask you a question? I said, what? He said, what do you do? And then I said, you know what, Jim, I don't want to talk business on your day off. This is your day with the horses. You're not here to talk business. And then, honestly, I prayed, right? Because if he said, yeah, you're right, no business today, I would be like, I just wasted all this money on my wrist. But what he said was, Jeff, it's okay. You didn't ask me. I'm asking you, what do you do for a living? And I said, well, I'm a founder of a travel tech company. And he said, travel tech? What an amazing coincidence. That's my favorite thing. And I said, that's crazy. How are we both standing here and we both love travel tech? And he starts asking me about it. And he says, can you come to my office Monday morning? I said, I'll see you Monday. But it was funny because Monday morning I walk in and I was like, I have an appointment. And she says, Jim has no appointments today, right? Because this happened on Saturday. And she said, he has no appointments today. I said, he has an appointment with me at 9 a.m. And she goes, wait a minute, what's your name? And I said, Jeff Hoffman. And she goes, nice try, buddy. Like, I will call security. You've been talking to us for months. I told you to disappear. And then from the office, Jim goes, Jeff? And I said, Jim. And he runs out and gives me a hug. And I'm walking into his office, and I just turned and looked at that lady. I said, you have a nice day, ma'am. And I went in the office. I gave Jim the pitch. I told him why I wouldn't make the mistakes the other investments did, why I would do the things that his good investments did right. I did one pitch, and he funded my entire company. I spent the time, though. My friends did 20 pitches because they were pitching to everybody. I spent the time of 19 pitches finding the person that was going to say yes, and he said, I absolutely love this, one and done. One pitch, one investor, he took the whole deal, and I never had to pitch again. So I'm sorry for the long story, but you guys need to dissect investors, and you need to find the person who's done the most investments like yours. Well, I just told you the whole process. So I hope that's helpful, but actually go do that. Do that research, find that person, and quit pitching anybody just because their business card says investor. It just amazes me that I say, who are you pitching? A fund. That's all they tell me. How did you find that? I asked my friends if they could connect me to investors, and these people are investors. That is not how you would sell your 12-year-old teenage girl jeans to any person on the sidewalk. You only want to talk to the people that are going to buy them. So, sorry that was so long.
That was spot on. You know, I think there was, and I'll hand it over here in a quick moment, but the essence of just needing to do good diligence, I think just resonates the most out of Jeff's story here, because it's something that's been echoed across, especially when we did the reverse pitch yesterday. There was like one or two founders that had asked questions that were similar in point to where the retort was, look us up, you know, check out the deals that we've done, talk to the founders that we've invested in. And, you know, definitely if there's a nightmare story that's out there, that's a red flag,
Yeah,
you know.
for sure.
Do not pursue. All right.
Yeah, so as it relates to finding the investors that invest in similar companies, competitor of you if the company is still with them? So do you have to find them ones that have exited or sold off or
Actually, that is not necessarily true. Sometimes yes, sometimes no.
Okay.
Sometimes these people want to own the space, and the space is big enough. Right, in our business, in Priceline and Booking.com, we still have Expedia, we still have Travelocity, we still have Orbitz, right? Our market's big enough that people wouldn't say there can only be one. There are people that have invested in multiple ones of those because they knew there was space for everybody to make money. So it's not automatic that they will say no because you're competitive. Some of them might be looking to do a roll-up, right? I've seen some of those in the biotech space. People are like, we want to buy all the companies working on this, and we're going to do a roll-up because we want to own that whole sector. So don't assume that. Make sure you still go to them and ask them and let them answer that question. Sometimes yes, but sometimes no. They're fine with it. The other startup might not like it, right, that you're competing with them. But if it's literally just one-to-one, the exact same market and the same cities and the same customers, that's less likely. But if you're in a bigger market and you have slightly different approaches, they may still fund you.
So I wanted to just leverage another quick transition here, but we'll get through one question with Michael, and then we'll...
I just wanted Jeff to expand on what you just talked about, because there is a scenario where an investor has already invested in a category, and they just want to know more about what you're doing to figure out if they can share information with their current investment. So you have to, I'd like you to talk about how much information you should share, because it's a multi-step process, right? Your first meeting might be a half hour, then you might have a 2 or 3 hour, and then you build a relationship. And I think a lot of people come in and they tell everything, and this happens at big companies too, like the big FANG companies. It can happen. You're invited in, you think they're going to be your friend, and then they're just doing research.
Okay, so that is definitely true. We said that before, that a lot of times if you're willing to keep giving them info, they're willing to take it, and they were never planning to invest in you, right? That's what we started this off by saying. But you bring up a broader question. I've literally had times where founders have come in and said, we're looking for investment. I said, tell me about your company. Well, we don't want to tell people about it because they'll steal the idea. I said, great, we'll be happy to fund a company we know nothing about. We don't know what you do, and you haven't given us a presentation. I mean, that's never going to happen. So here I have two answers to that, to the how much can you say out there in the marketplace. The first place is, while that is true, and that's your radar sensing, I'm just wasting my time, I don't think they're going to close with me, so stop giving them information. You might get that wrong, you might get that right. But here's a warning sign. When a company is really interested in you and they think the company's hot and the market's hot, they don't want their competitor to invest in you, so they don't move slowly. If they're moving really slowly, take that as a bad sign. Go to them and say, we have other investors with other interests, and we need to move faster than this. If they don't move faster, that means they're willing to let you slip away, right? And they're not your person. Stop talking to them. But it's easy to discern when you say, we're hot in the market right now. Just say it, right? And we have other people that want to talk to us, and this is going a little slow. Can you give me a timeline? And if they really want you, you know what they say? I would turn to Carlos and say, we cannot let them get away, and we can't let so-and-so invest in them. This is too hot. They're going to say yes. If they don't, unfortunately, that's your real answer right there. The other part I want to tell you guys about talking about what you're doing. If you, and this is what I'm going to tell you, and you're not going to like to hear this, some of the people, but this is real. You should be building, well, let me phrase it the other way. If you telling me something about your business enables me to steal your idea and go do it, go find something else to do, okay? If it's that easy. What I always tell people is you should spend your life's energy, right? You'll do more than one startup in your life. Spend your time looking for the startup idea where you have the most unfair advantages. Okay, I'm going to repeat that and explain it. Look for an idea where you have the most unfair advantages. So I'm going to give you a perfect example of that. Back then, when we were pitching Priceline.com, and I was telling people what we were building, if you had said, oh, I'm going to steal your idea, I'd be like, good luck with that. Right? I would love to see you compete with me. Why? Because I picked something I had unfair advantages. I'll give you an example of what that means. Before we ever built that company, we had built those kiosks. In order to build the kiosks, my whole set of developers had to learn how to access and process the back office of airlines all over the world. That took us 2 years to develop the skill set of connecting to airline back offices. So you want to take my idea, you got 2 years just to get to even, and I'll already be 2 years ahead of you. You know what else I had? Because we saved with those kiosks, every airline in the world millions of dollars, every airline CEO, they used to send me gifts and free tickets, right? So if I pick up the phone as Priceline or Booking and call the CEO of an airline, or in the day I would call Bill Marriott instead of the Marriott revenue team. I would just call Bill Marriott and he'd say, Jeff, take the call every time. Why? Because I delivered something to him. But what's the unfair advantage? I have relationships in this industry. They will answer my call and they probably won't answer yours. So I had 2 big advantages. So if you want to steal my idea, good luck with that. And what I'm telling you is if the thing you're building, so your unfair advantages are skill set, know-how, experience, relationships, IP. If you're building something that you have none of those advantages and anybody could just do it, go do something else. Go find something you can actually protect. By the way, one of those advantages is just first mover advantage. It's okay if you have no IP and somebody else could do it, but it took you 1.5 years just to get to here. That's an advantage. You're 1.5 years ahead of the competition. So I've given you another homework assignment. Go make a list of the unfair advantages you have for the business you're building in the industry you're in. And if you can't find many of them, maybe it's time to go do something else, because you'll win when you can protect yourself because you have advantages that somebody that's trying to steal your idea. Oh, by the way, the other thing about legit investors is none of them steal ideas. You are correct that they'll use you to get educated on the market, but they're not going to steal your idea. They're not going to risk their entire firm, their brand, and their reputation because some founder came in and they said, let's steal his IP, right? If you Google these people, you will find 0 lawsuits ever. The legitimate ones have never stolen an idea. They've never been sued for it. But you are correct, Michael, you might be educating them. And you're giving them free service. That's why I said before, just tell them, I need to accelerate this process. And if they say no, you already got an answer.
And for corporates, I was in a situation where I was inside of a company, a small company, struggling company, and it was actually a Puerto Rican entrepreneur, a struggling company years ago, and a big corporate came in and wanted to buy the company. And at the end of the day, the deal didn't happen, and the person I was working for was not in integrity with what was available. But here's what I learned. That big company was exposed. So people think the big company is going to steal my idea, but when the big company comes over, and we had the whole C-suite, at one point this guy, the CEO, flew in from Atlanta unannounced on his jet. Those guys spent 2 years reversing that because they were afraid that the entrepreneur would accuse them of stealing their IP when they went and built another product. So it goes both ways in this scenario.
I just want to do a quick pivot, and thanks, Mike, and thanks, Jeff, for that exchange, because I think the other piece of what helps the company shine when it comes time to get ready for investment is traction, sales, and making sure that you're able to hit those KPIs and, basically push that needle forward. This is something which I know Jeff throughout this week has also mentioned several times over if you've been to some of his sessions. But I'm curious to learn from those that are in the audience, if you are a Latin American founder and you have successfully closed an international deal, whether it's a neighboring country and or selling into the United States. Raise your hand if you've been able to achieve this. Anybody? Latin American founder selling cross-border. So I have 1, 2, don't be shy, y'all. This is time to brag. 3, okay, great. Anybody from the United States that has successfully sold internationally cross-border? Any? 1, 2, okay, 3. Puerto Rico. Have you been able to successfully sell mainland or sell southward to Central and or South America? Anybody? Or we're still local? Okay. So for those that have hands raised, I'm definitely going to be calling you out just to learn a little bit more about what has worked for you in this context, because I know those that have their hands down are keen to learn a little bit more, and then Jeff and I can jump in to back y'all up. So let's start with Sat over in the back, Maya AI. Give us your context, please.
Yeah, thanks so much. My AI, we're a regulatory workflow platform. So we sell to like pharmaceutical, medical device companies. And it was interesting how we ended up selling cross-border. So we sold to the National Cancer Center of Singapore, and we're located in the United States. I've never been to Asia in my entire life. What happened was they found us online via, some blogs and articles we wrote. We never had any intention of selling overseas. So that's how they kind of found us. We had a success story with the National Cancer Center of Singapore, and we then asked them who would be another customer in the space that you can introduce us to. And then they introduced us to T-Mobile for healthcare. And then we landed T-Mobile as well as another customer. So that's kind of how we expanded. It kind of came from the customer themselves, and then it expanded with introductions to the customers to other customers.
Thanks, Sat. Power of having brand champions on your side as you're looking to be able to grow. So remember who he is, because he's going to be pitching later as well on the EWC stage. But most importantly, if you got any questions about that corporate sales cycle, clearly Sat's got some insights for you. I see Augusto had his hand up.
Yes, thank you. Well, in our case, I'm co-founder of Sumato ID. We make computer vision, really, for retail. But we are Argentinian. The economics problem there, that we all think globally. And the idea for us that works was we won Startup Chile, all local funding there. And then they give us all the first contact, and now we are growing with our clients, our main clients. They are on the region, and we expand with them. I think it's a good example.
Yeah, great tips there, because these market entry programs, if they're operated very effectively, they will definitely give you that first, second, or third introduction to different people, as I have done in Miami as well. Literally held someone by the hand and sat them down at the University of Miami so that they got a healthcare pilot out of it. So I know the power of how that works when the partner that is serving you is very engaged. So one of the things I think to look at when you're seeing these market entry programs is, how passionate is that team behind that project and program, promoting the economic development objectives of what they're, selling to attract you in. And as Augusto shows evidence to that, he can talk a lot about, some of the good things that Startup Chile has done so to help you evaluate those types of different programs and initiatives. I saw Oscar had his hand up on this side, and then all the way in the back, right? Yeah, we had someone else.
Yeah, like we're a clean tech, and we help reduce energy consumption for corporates by using AI. And the Electric Power Research Institute, called like EPRI in the U.S., it groups all of the important utilities in the U.S. from the different states, and every year they launch like these challenges for startups to solve. And we were in Colombia, and we decided, hey, let's apply, and we ended doing a pilot project with the utility of Missouri, Ameren. It was an offline project that we were in Colombia doing the project for the United States. It was successful, and right now, like, we're traveling to the U.S. next semester to present the project, and it's an opportunity of getting there. I mean, and we did the same thing, and we deployed a pilot in Italy. It was not our market, Italy, but it's the opportunity, like, to see what corporates think about our technology. So my recommendations here is that those challenge programs are very useful, because it allows you to validate and perhaps enter to a new market, such in our case.
The implication becomes if here you're going global, great. You get that pilot. These large corporates are more keen when you have that proof of concept, when you have the data to then be able to start replicating over and over again across the network. It really does, create such a transformational effect for, you as a founder. That one client can can change the game. I know we've talked about that as you're thinking about the U.S., so hopefully, I'm sure it's going to work out. You know?
Sure. Yeah, I'll go. So I'm Jason. I'm a founder of Delivery, and what we're doing is building an e-commerce shipping platform for Latin American businesses. So we are in a different situation maybe than some people here, whereas we're pre-product. We haven't actually launched our platform yet, which we'll do before the holiday season this year. And what I'm doing right now is trying to go after those clients in those countries, Mexico, Colombia, Peru. And the way I'm doing it is to build that wait list is direct outreach through where they are, which is social media on Instagram, because they're our customers. And literally just messaging them, trying to set up conversations, learn more about their issues, and then how we can hopefully solve that. That's been actually pretty successful because they are receptive to it. They are themselves entrepreneurs, so they're trying to always find new solutions to help their business. And when we bring them, at least it's a free-to-use platform to join, so there's really no investment other than their time to consider it. And we've had success with that, and then through word of mouth, them recommending other friends of theirs who are also building their businesses to join the platform, or at least join the wait list. So really just, cold outreach, boots on the ground, trying to get in their sites, really.
I think Jeff will probably agree with this one too. In that respect, needing to be very data driven as you're moving through that process. So, how effective is the cold outreach? Who's triggering, right, and actually converting into getting on that wait list? Who's staying engaged? What's the context of the type of follow-ups that they have with you later? Because I think it's a very good way, just as like a litmus test to see, as we're inching closer to launch, what's happening next, right? And
I'll add to that, we are keeping them informed and involved in the process. We're keeping them informed and involved in the process as we build it, to try to build that community and give them some that feeling that they are part of it. So that's a great point.
I want to follow up as well, Jason, with that too. So, because you are a U.S.-based founder, looking at creating customer pipelines or partner pipelines across the region, for the other American founders that are in the room that might not have yet dipped their toe into Latin America or thinking about it, what are some of the insights that you have about, having reached out to businesses in Colombia, in Peru, in Panama, wherever they may be? Because it's idiosyncratic for sure. There's differences.
Yeah, I think you do truly have to understand what is taking place in those markets, right? And where the socioeconomical differences between them, in the culture itself, the differences between the male owners, business owners, and the female business owners. Actually, the majority of our customers are going to mostly female. They're female business owners in Latin America. So tailoring our voice to that is very important. But understanding that these could be very, very small businesses that are super new. They're taking a huge risk. They're working extremely hard. And that's what you have to have, that empathy with them and understand what they're going through and at least acknowledge it. Because if you just look at them as as just a tool or a paycheck, right? Like, it's not going to work. And you have to spend some time in those countries, go down there, meet the people, go into the stores, talk to the business owners or the retailers, talk to the customers, and learn the unique situations in different regions of those, not just in all of Latam, but in those particular countries. They may have different ways of doing things in that same country.
Totally.
Question for Jeff. I support entrepreneurs as angel investor and mentor them. Some of them in Puerto Rico, mostly in health tech. Curious to know, when you're coaching some of your entrepreneurs, how do you get them to swing for the fences? Many of them are managing risk, and obviously you have a lot of risk on a startup, but at the same time, you want that opportunity to be worth the risk, and therefore opening their eyes to the bigger market well beyond either Puerto Rico or Latin America or whatever their base is. What have you found to be the best way to motivate them to see that?
Okay, you might not like this answer either, But the ones that don't have big dreams, I don't mentor them. I just move on. If you don't have a big dream and you're not trying to make some real impact and do something, we tend to focus on the folks. By the way, I said dreams, not business plan. Okay? Again, I'm just answering your question very honestly. For me, our focus is not on your business, it's on people, right? We're investing in people, not companies. That's not the typical Silicon Valley type or VC answer. They're just looking, they don't even ask you a lot of questions. They just flip to the last page of your presentation to read the financials, and if they don't like them, you're done. And you might have literally been the next Elon Musk, but they didn't even talk to you because they didn't like the financials. That is not how we operate. We're investing in people because odds are those people, if you're picking the rock star people, they're going to do 5 startups in their life that are all going to be good. So we're focused much more on the people. But I'm telling you, and again, this is not everyone's answer. You asked me, and I'm answering. We want you to do well and to do well on a grand scale, but for a different reason. Not to get rich, but to make impact. We pick people who we believe, if we helped you become successful on a big scale, would you turn around and pay that forward? Would you help a lot? There were some young entrepreneurs in Jordan, right? In that country that were, I don't know, they were young, they were hungry, they were big dreamers. I just liked everything about them. But the reason I'm telling you that is I helped them with their company. Their company scaled to 30 million people across the Middle East that use their product. They sold it for a big sum. They called me afterwards and told me, we're funding all the startup entrepreneurs in the Middle East because we know what it's like to have no money to start. So they took all that money and they just started handing it out. And I was like, you can buy a car or something, right? You guys can use a little bit of that. And they said, we will, but mostly we want to take care of everybody that's in that position. So we're looking at something non-standard. We're looking at whether your success will become other people's success when we're doing that. But there's one more point though. Sometimes they're absolutely right because this is a danger. You're building a product here on the island. You haven't really proven it yet, and you're already telling me how you're going to own the United States. So there is a time at which you need to focus local and small and deliver results and data and proof. Then go global. Too many companies are already telling me, we're going all across Latin America, and I'm like, you haven't even shown that it works in Peru. Make it work in Peru before you tell me you're going anywhere else. So sometimes they're right to do that. But if their vision, right, isn't bigger after that, after Peru, what are you going to do? If they're telling you, we're good with that, then that's a lifestyle business, right? Investors don't really invest in lifestyle businesses. You'll have a great life, but investors are looking for growth businesses, and if that entrepreneur doesn't have big growth goals, that's not usually a good long-term investment. I completely agree with you. It's just that you can't change their DNA, right? So you said, what do you do to encourage them to think bigger? That's super hard. I think some people are born with the DNA that they want to have a much bigger scale impact, and some people are, when somebody's too risk averse, they're just not a good entrepreneur. I'm going to tell you a really quick story about what the ultimate looks like. Way back when, I was sitting with Elon Musk, and people don't realize he made his money from PayPal. And the amount of money he made, everybody thought he made billions. He made $180 million. That's not small, but Elon Musk didn't make the money that people thought that he did. But he was telling me, I'm going to do this car company. And he said, I said, so what's the plan? He said, I have $180 million net worth. He said, I'm putting it all in the car company. I said, wait, what? He said, I'm betting every dime I own. He said, Jeff, if Tesla fails, I hope you have a couch because I'm going to need somewhere to live. That is the extreme end, but the great entrepreneurship. That was a person that said, I'll bet it all because I believe in this thing and it's going to be huge. As you scale the other way, you start moving into people that maybe they shouldn't be entrepreneurs. If you're spending every day trying to eliminate every risk and be super conservative, entrepreneurship's not for you. But I just wanted to tell you that because Elon's the ultimate entrepreneur, and how did that turn out? He's probably literally still the wealthiest person on the planet, but you don't get to any level like that without taking risk.
So I'm happy to hear that from you, because me as a student, it's really hard for me to keep going with my ideas, and I have my own professor that he's helping me push that forward. And sometimes it's just really hard, like going through that process and just thinking maybe it's not gonna work. Maybe I can find people who would like to invest in my idea to help here in Puerto Rico and maybe other places. And hearing that from you, it actually and from yesterday actually have helped me a little bit more, and like having like a strong feeling that yeah, I can do this, and maybe I can find some way for people to invest in me to help other people too.
Okay, so I'm really glad you said that, because that is literally his life's goal, to connect you guys to each other, to support each other. The answer to those moments, every one of us that's ever built anything had moments where we weren't sure it was going to work. No one seems to want to invest. No one believes in my idea. It's not going well. Everybody has gone through that. I don't know if you've ever heard, well, we brought him to GEC. My friend Mark Randolph created Netflix. But if Mark tells you the story sitting on his couch by himself and what Netflix is today, there's a lot of moments where he was about to give up and he was about to quit and things weren't working and everything went bad. But if he had, we wouldn't be watching Netflix now, right? Everybody, so even people like that built huge brands, everybody goes through that. The answer to that is literally the reason Carlos wanted to do this, and the reason that Carlos runs a startup program, and why we have founders and starters and all the things we do at Gen, because you need a tribe. You need people around you that you can contact that are going through the same thing. I wrote something that I'm going to share with you guys. I have this wall at home where I write all the things I believe. And one day I wrote on my wall, we get our advice from proximity, not relevance. And the reason that I wrote that is proximity is all the people around you, mother, sister, brother, husband, wife, friends. The only qualification they have to tell you anything is their proximity. They live near you. They're in your house. And they're telling you, Vitaly, this is never going to work. It's a bad idea. You should just go get a job. Think about who you're listening to, especially when it's not going well and you're down. You're listening to proximity. You should be listening to relevance. Relevance is somebody else that's going through exactly what you're doing, or maybe someone that's already been there and built a company and survived the ups and downs. So that's why we literally have everything we built at Gen for founders, because you need to be able to talk to other founders and say, I'm having a horrible day. I don't believe right now. I feel like giving up. And you're going to tell her, I just went through that a month ago. Let's talk it out. You need people that have been there. They will lift you. You guys need to take care of each other, and you need to help each other. But you have to have that tribe. And that tribe, I got to a point where I learned when my mother was telling me that my next idea was stupider than my last one, I would just nod. And my mom thought I was listening. I was actually listening to a Pitbull song in my earphone, right? My mom thought I was listening, and I was going, that's great, Mom. Thanks, Mom. I don't listen to a word she says. But I knew this guy, Roger, right, who is somebody I want to be like when I grow up. By the way, that's how you should find a mentor. A mentor is not a person in your industry. A mentor is somebody you want to be like. I don't care how old you are. You want to be like when you grow up. Find a person you say, I want to be like her. I want to be like him, and reach out to that person. That's the mentor you need. Mine was Roger, and it took me months to finally get coffee with him, but he became my mentor. And when everybody was telling me I was wrong and I felt like quitting, I didn't listen to all the proximity. I called Roger because he was a successful entrepreneur who's built some companies, failed at companies, been through it all, and I was like, I want to be like, when Roger talks to me, I listen, and Roger tells me, Jeff, you're going to go, he just lifts me up when I need lifting up. So that's our expectation. I want you to comment on that. For all of you guys that are founders in the Gen Network, take care of each other. Everybody has those ups and down moments. You guys should be building relationships among yourselves to help everybody get through it.
Yeah, yeah. That is like the mic drop moment, I think, of my whole day thus far, because that's spot on. I mean, that is the work that we do, what we have to promote, what we have to live and breathe. And I mean, some of you already know, like, I don't sleep a lot, thanks to you, right? But it's okay, you know, because this is, I know that it's part of like my purpose and how I fit well within this patchwork of experts and ecosystem champions. So there's never a complaint when it comes to that. It's a passion project, right? Which ripples outward many times over. And on like the point of all of the different things that we're able to do, right? Us coming together today, I challenge all of you, because as we do have a little bit of time left and we're leading up into that lunch hour, go eat with a couple of strangers from this room, folks that you haven't chatted with. Learn a little bit about the founders that are in the room. What are they doing? And then always ask yourself that question, because they might not pitch to you the way that they would to people in adjacent rooms, right? So how can I help, right? Or how can I add value to you? Because that is really how we walk away from several days here in a pretty amazing facility with a bunch of amazing people to make that work, and actually push that needle well into the future. The founders need support. I don't think we have enough time here to be able to talk about every single case of how and why they need the assistance, right? But advisor, access to investors, mentorship on specific subjects, training and professional development opportunities, sales, business deal flow, access to developers or technical expertise, legal, accounting, etc. There's so many nuances to how and why we can add value. So, I mean, literally anybody at this conference can help, but you just got to talk and things can happen.
Yep, and I'm going to say it again. It's a lonely journey, but stop listening to the wrong people. Listen to the people who have done what you want to do, not the people. All the people who were giving me advice, I was like, I love you guys and I know you care about me, but I'm not trying to be you. I'm trying to do something none of you have done, so your advice isn't really relevant, right? It's just close. You're standing right next to me and telling me all this stuff. Find people who have done what you want to do and take their advice instead. And they're going to be the ones that are going to help you through that, because they already went through that and they fought through. Again, we wouldn't have Netflix if that was the case. Mark Zuckerberg told me he was 60 days away from filing bankruptcy. There wouldn't have even been Facebook if he didn't recover from his darkest moments too.
So I'm going to let everybody out with about 2 minutes left, so that you can actually get to lunch on time, and then you will spend less time in the line waiting for your meal, so that you can then spend more time interacting with each other. So just look across the aisle, okay? See somebody that you maybe want to chat with. Make sure it's not someone you've met over the past couple days, okay? Thanks so much, everybody.
Thank you, guys.
Jeff.